Hello and welcome to the newly named DJ Force X in Conversation. It is still the podcast, just slightly changed the name, just to kind of bring it in line with the radio show that this kind of goes with. Because that is called DJ Force X in Conversation. So it kind of made sense to kind of rebrand, I suppose, and make it all one. And so that there's takes an extra step out on my part because my time is very limited right now. As you probably guessed to any kind of regular listeners, I've been kind of on and off releasing these. But hopefully that's going to start picking up now because it's only been a couple of weeks since the last one. So I've got a couple of interviews lined up next week. So we should have some regular releases on this front, as well as obviously updating the radio show on Total Rock, which goes out every Sunday at 6 p.m. for those that are interested. It includes music on it as well, whereas this is just the interview itself. I don't quite have the licensing yet to add music to this, apart from my own, the intro and outro music. But yeah, I've got a few plans for the show as well coming up. I think I mentioned them in the last podcast, but trying to organise something for Record Store Day. I've got an interview lined up with a band that are actually releasing something that day, and a couple of labels that have kind of been involved in it in the past. And I'm trying to get more, so hopefully that will expand. I'm also trying to get into the DMC, the Disco Mixing Championship, the Scratch DJing Championship, the traditional one. I say traditional, it has adopted the digital side of things, but, 2 turntables and a mixer. And, I'm trying to get involved in that, trying to get some of the DJs in that have been involved in that in the time, because, that's a big part of my background when it comes to DJing. I used to love scratching and stuff up, making battle sets, stuff like that. And even into the DMC one year, I didn't do very well. I didn't even get past the sort of general heat, but less said about that, the better. So again, trying to get some new material for this, but bands, I'm still looking for bands. I went to the West End Centre in Aldershot last week as well. Managed to catch 4 new bands there. I'm going to have one of them on my show because they've got an album coming out, I think, later this year. Bright Light City, who were very good. They impressed me. All the bands were good that night, but they particularly kind of hit a certain mark with me. And I got to chat to them after the show, which was great. And we sort of lined up a few bits here and there. And they'll be on my show soon. I think once their album is in flight, if you will, we'll have them on. I'm always looking for other bands as well. So if any bands are listening to this, just get in touch. Info at DJ Force X or at DJ Force X on all the socials. Also check out my other radio show. It is on Tuesday nights, again on Total Rock, but it is my my metal and dance mashup show, if you will, called Crossing the Streams. It goes out at 11 o'clock UK time, but do check that one out because I love mixing those things up, and it's something slightly different. Also, I am DJing live. I am in Guildford on Friday the 30th, which is actually tomorrow as I'm recording this. But it's the last Friday of every month in Guildford. I DJ Schism. And once we get Woking back up and running again, that'll be the first Friday of every month as well. But back on the live scene here in the UK. Anyway, I've been rambling long enough. I'm going to let you get to this interview. So this is Dave Wyndorf of Monster Magnet. Enjoy. Welcome, first and foremost, to the show. After that little hesitant start there. But yeah, how are you doing today?
Good. I got a gig tomorrow, like the first time we played in a bunch of months. So, do New York City tomorrow. So I'm totally psyched.
Nice.
I'm ready to get out of the box. Making a record and, the pre-work for releasing a record is just me kind of sitting around my kitchen talking on the phone all day.
Yeah.
And, which is fun, but not as much fun as rocking.
No.
So I was like, I got to get out. It's like, come on, let me out.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly. I know how you feel. I was in a band many years ago, did the rounds and stuff, but yeah, there was nothing quite like blowing the cobwebs off and being on stage,
Yeah, it's the only time I really feel like I'm in a band. Like all the rest of the time, I feel like I'm faking it. So, but when you're actually in front of people, people are like, thumbs up or thumbs down, like right there to your face. So
yes.
you have to be good.
Yes. Yeah, you have to be on it. Otherwise, the faces do tell you on that front. Here to talk about your new album, which came out last week. It's called Mindfucker. And it's out on Napalm Records, which is is it your third album out on that label?
It is. Well, it's actually more. We did more. We did 1, 2, 3, 4. We did 5 records. So some of them were like reimagined reworkings and stuff. So I guess we have 5. Cool. There's 5 records out on Napalm.
How did that relationship start with Napalm? Because they've kind of grown into quite a diverse label in the rock field, anyway. Because I know they started off kind of a bit more of a black metal.
They just came to they came to me at a time where I was looking for somebody, and sure enough, they said that they wanted to diversify.
Yeah,
I was like, "You sure you want us? So you guys are like straight, like crap metal, man, And they're like, well, it's like we're a record company. We're not just any record company. We're a record company, so we can grow.
Yeah, and
they were cool, no interference. There's no big opinions about anything, and it's just we like Monster Magnet, and we want you to do what you do over here.
Cool.
And I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. So it worked out.
Excellent. Because I've been speaking to a few bands. I'll be getting obviously sent a few releases from them, and it is quite a diverse label. And I was just curious how that relationship started, because a couple of bands that I know personally have signed to them as well. So.
Right. If anything goes these days, it's like I guess if you're a straight metal band, it's always been, in the last bunch of years, it's been easier to find a label that looks like you sound.
Yes.
But for Monster Magnet, which has never been, I don't know, it's been hard for me to categorize it. I never wanted to categorize it. I just look at ourselves as rock.
Yeah.
And psychedelic rock, depending on what the mood is, what my mood is for that day. And so far as I've never seen a label that says that's what they specialize in. Yeah. We specialize in straight up rock and psychedelic rock. So I've never had a home where I actually felt like, oh, this is exactly where we're supposed to be. So it's no worries for me to set up shop in a place that maybe not look perfect. But things may be getting better. I mean, with all the stoner stuff that's coming out across Europe, I can imagine there might be a place where larger record companies on the size of Napalm and Nuclear Blast that may come in and represent that kind of music.
Yeah.
With a bigger profile themselves, which would be cool,
Yeah, it'd be nice to have something to kind of head up that.
Yeah, just because the whole metal, metal for metal's sake is getting kind of old for me. You know what I mean? It's way too much. It's a simple term that's put to a lot of stuff that doesn't exactly apply in my mind. So I'd like to see some. That's why I'm glad they're diversifying.
Yes. Yeah.
Napalm and Nuclear Blast.
Yeah, and Nuclear Blast as well. Yeah, they're another one that have kind of opened up their doors, if you will. So, cool. So, like I said, new album, Mindfucker. It's a great album, first and foremost.
Thanks.
I got sent it, or I got sent the streams a couple of weeks ago, and I've been having it like on and off since then. Couple of tracks I really love. I love the title track, the Mindfucker track. I've been playing that on my show and when I've been DJing live as well. I've been playing.
Thanks, dude.
But I really love like Drowning.
Cool.
Just purely because it's more of a story-based song, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
I love songs that tell a story in itself, because a lot of songs you get kind of over repetition and of a theme, but one that takes you on a journey, kind of like this one for me. One
cool,
song,
nice.
And what was the other one? When the Hammer Comes Down.
Yeah.
No, I mean the rest of the album's great as well, but those were like real standout tracks for me on that front.
Thanks, dude. They're like actually some of my favorite songs too. So
excellent.
I agree.
I was going to ask, any of those make it into your live set for any of your shows coming up?
Yeah, definitely. Well, already we're doing Mindfucker and Hammer actually tomorrow. In the next couple of days, we're playing 3 shows, so they're already in the set. Okay. And so I'm sure by the time we get to Europe in a month, they'll be I'm sure Drowning will be in there too, and at least a couple more.
Excellent. Because I'm hoping to see you guys at Desert Fest.
Yeah, that's going to be great. We get to play with Hawkwind, which is amazing.
I mean, right?
Hawkwind's been like one of my favorite bands since I was 11 years old.
Oh,
this
really?
Is amazing to me. Yeah. Wow. This is killing me. I saw them when I was about 13.
Yeah.
I saw the Space Ritual tour. A million years ago. I was 13 years old. I saw Space Ritual live, and it completely blew my mind.
Yeah. No, they're one of those bands that take you on that, like I said, the journey. They can take.
Yeah, man. Back then, it was it was definitely the Sonic Attack.
Yeah.
It was completely in your face, like aggressive psychedelia. It wasn't the Grateful Dead, and this was like 70s, and I'd never seen anything like that. I was a little kid. I'd never seen anything, but I think I'd seen about 5 shows before that, like Slade and something else, and maybe early Mott the Hoople, and but they came on, and it was just like sci-fi pulp.
Yeah.
Some sort of warped out version of like punk space rock, and which I didn't even know existed. And they had Stacy, the dancer, who was like this 6 foot tall naked girl with giant boobs, like dancing in my 13-year-old face. It killed me. And I was like, I think I want to do this for a living.
Nice. So did you get like a lot of influence from the British side of the rock, the kind of like the progressive psychedelic rock?
Yeah, huge. I listen to everything. Of course, anything that was out, British, especially because British they pretty much invented hard rock, So it was when I was a little kid, like 69, 1970, I started buying albums from the record store without me knowing anything about them, just choosing covers and stuff. And they were all like British records, It was like first King Crimson, first Black Sabbath, first Led Zeppelin. And so I was, a child, bringing those things home and listening to them. It was, and all I read at the bottom was, recorded here, recorded there, recorded. It was all England.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it for me.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a hell of a time to sort of be growing up with that music.
I used to think that I was just being nostalgic about it. I've been nostalgic for a long time because I've been around for a while, but now the more and more I realize it's like I'm not just some guy being nostalgic. I really was lucky enough to be here at a time where the albums were unbelievably good.
Yeah,
like one right after another. Like the whole of music for a couple of years there was just totally kicking ass. From like 69 to 73, as far as hard rock goes. But holy God, it was amazing.
No, definitely. Like I say, I mean, it must. I'm a bit younger than that. I was sort of more of a child of the '80s, so
right.
Kind of got the sort of more sort of like the glam side, and then the sort of more sort of post rock kind of.
Well, I mean, there's always good stuff, And I mean, it's like, and I lived through that was when I was with my bands, but I always have that weird, this kind of strange glow where I don't think even the press had rock really figured out yet. So it seemed like nobody really knew what they were doing. There wasn't a big connection between what the press was doing and what the bands were doing. So the bands just did what they did almost in their own little spheres.
Yeah.
And the press got onto it always after it was done. So the stuff was like fully fleshed and made up without much consideration to how it would play out live. So you got these crazy different ideas and different sounds before anybody really realized that there's competition going on here. So that's how you got records like in the same year you got like Sly and the Family Stone. There's a riot going on. Plus like Rod Stewart, the early Rod Stewart stuff, which is really, really great. Plus Alice Cooper, Black Sabbath, King Crimson, all sounds of records that sound like they were made in completely different worlds.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they were really talking to each other. I think they were just kind of following the word on the street and whatever underground press was going on.
Yeah.
Later on, when the press got better at covering it, there was kind of uniformity to what was going to veer from the norm and what was going to be the norm. It was just a little bit more in place.
Yeah.
at this time, it was kind of like, no, I didn't know what was going to happen next, and I was consistently surprised.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, back then, obviously, now compared to now, you've got various outlets to find music, whereas then it was kind of like either through friends.
Yeah, it's almost too good now.
Yeah,
right. It's almost too good now. It's like you can almost see that. It's like movies. You could see the ending.
Yes, exactly.
Look at that.
Yeah. So with Mindfucker, the album, how was that writing process for you? Because obviously you mentioned that, like, just now, like, having grown up in that time where, you said the bands weren't really talking to each other. There's no real sort of trends forming. Is that the kind of attitude you take into a session in writing?
Yeah, I mean, I to tell you the truth, man, I always try to pretend that I'm just like 16 years old.
Okay.
Like, whenever I go to write a record, I'm just like, what do I want to hear? Like, what do I want to hear? I try not to think about how it's going to fit in with anything until it's done.
Yeah.
And I usually think about how it's going to fit live. Like, what would people think of this if it was performed live? Other than that, I can't worry about how it's going to size up to other acts out there or how it's going to play.
Yeah.
On the internet press or just in the new world of how this stuff is played out.
Yeah.
So I just play a game with myself, I'm like, wow, this is gonna be really cool, and like maybe it's maybe we're gonna like set the world on fire with this, knowing deep down inside that it's probably not going to do any of that, but I pretend like it is, and it's really fun. Yeah.
No, I mean that's the whole point, really, isn't it? I mean, you can set out to make a commercial success and maybe attain it, or you can just write what makes you kind of happy.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about going for it, and like really, like studying the charts and do stuff like some of the bigger bands have done, which obviously a lot of people do their homework, or these bands wouldn't sound all the same.
No.
They wouldn't, if all these bands that are out now that are actually doing good, like say like Stone Sour and stuff like that. Obviously, they follow the charts.
Yeah.
They follow that sound. If there's a sound, and I couldn't do it. I'd probably fail at it anyway. Even if I tried it, I'd probably fail. So it's best for me to just kind of stick to my roots.
I mean, you guys have had success. I mean, you've had your music used in various TV shows. From what I remember, it was Sons of Anarchy. You had a couple of tracks on that.
Yeah, we got lucky.
Yeah, and obviously you're sort of like your cult following with the kind of like the comic book universe, the Marvel universe, and things like that. With obviously most notably the Negasonic Teenage Warhead, most recently on that front. But obviously you've referenced comics within your sort of sound before, and I've heard you on other podcasts like Tell 'em Steve Dave, which is
right
over in your area of the woods, in New Jersey, so I know that's kind of, one of your passions, if you will.
I love comics, man.
Yeah.
Comics are the best. Comics are like one of my favorite mediums because it's like, it's very personal. You don't like read comics with other people. You don't sit there, like two people don't sit together reading a comic book. At least not that I know of. Like, hey, okay, turn the page. So it's just you and this book, this little book that has cool pictures, and you're kind of engaged in a way that's unlike TV or movies, which is meaning that you kind of control the speed of which you consume it.
Yeah.
So you can linger on a panel and choose to move next. So it's different, and like, TVs and movies kind of guide you, and comics try to guide you, but they can't control how much you linger, and in how much you linger is how much you interpret what's going on.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm making a bigger deal, and believe me, most comic books aren't that great, but it's the promise of them that gets me great.
Yeah.
It's like this thing could be anything. Any tripped out crazy person can interpret almost anything by just lingering on the words and the picture in the panel.
Yeah.
And it's real. I've never found a substitute for it. And I read them all the time. I read big boy books all the time too, and I watch movies, of course. But nothing gets me more than that experience with the comic. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
And there were so many people unsung heroes in comics. That's really gets me too.
Yeah, I've noticed
fantastic artists and writers that didn't get paid anything, and they totally created like a mountain of just the most fantastic. There's no budget on the special effects in someone's imagination. So these guys made up stuff that you probably still couldn't film today. Jack Kirby alone. You know?
Yeah. No, I was going to say a lot of the artwork is because I read comics as well. And you're right, you linger on it, especially when the high, you get someone who's obviously incredibly talented, drawer, or artist, and you just sit there with the words on the page, looking at that picture, and you always see something going on. There's always something in the background. There's always something kind of, and it's your mind that makes that happen as well. So it can work.
Yes, your mind.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing it. You're the one who's reading more into it than there, or hopefully you are.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's one of my sort of passions as well. So it's
oh, cool.
Always good to sort of speak to another person about comics. And you're right, you don't read them with people. You tend to read them alone, like most books. In fact, it's just I'm a huge fan of reading in general. Reading is the best, my favorite form of entertainment because it forces me to focus on it. So I absorb. I get more enjoyment out of having my brain nailed like that, forced into focus, than I do even watching. I mean, the movie's got to be pretty goddamn good for my mind not to wander. Yeah. No, it has to keep my attention as well.
Yeah, I mean, and reading forces you. You either read it or you don't read it. I rarely go, oh, I'm not paying attention while I'm reading. I either put the thing down. I either give it 100% or no percent. But movies, I often can sit there and give it 50%.
Yeah.
Which is kind of bullshit. It's just a waste of time.
It is. It kind of is playing out for you in that respect. It's just that, there is a distraction. So.
Yeah, movies are best to watch with your friends or your girlfriend, and you kind of talk about it and stuff. And I can't think of any times I've actually sat there with a comic book with my girlfriend, reading. Oh. In fact, I would say never.
Never.
Get those things out of here,
Cool. So I've got a couple of questions left for you, and then I'll let you get on with the rest of your day, because I know it's obviously you're 5 hours behind me, aren't you? So it's just coming up to midday.
Yeah, coming up on midday.
Yeah, I was living in Florida up until recently, so I was in the same time zone. So
Florida, yeah, how was that?
It was all right. Yeah, I was there for about 5 years in Tampa. And,
all right.
No, we just moved back to England, so.
Get ready for grey.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
Gone from sun to, it's actually raining right now.
Wow.
To play the stereotype, but it is grey and murky outside right now.
That's right.
Obviously, we've already kind of discussed probably one of your hobbies with comic books and stuff. Do you have any other hobbies away from music? Anything you kind of separate yourself out for?
Not really. I mean, it's it's pretty simple. I'm pretty unexciting person. I just read, read a lot, books and comics and anything. Art, I love to look at art. I buy books. I'm like a book hound. And then the rest of the time, I'm usually either writing or thinking about writing or playing live or riding my bicycle. Nice. I like to ride my bike through the woods.
Cool.
And so pretty hermit-like. Yeah. Just absorbing as much stuff as I possibly can because it's interesting. And then when it's time to, it's a cool life actually because I get to be kind of a hermit. And then I go on tour and then I just change into this other person, which is rock animal guy.
Yeah.
And go berserk.
Nice.
Because people kind of expect it. So I get to be, have an alter ego of sorts.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Cool. No, I like that. And 3 top albums of yours that kind of shape the kind of musician or person that you've become. You could pinpoint 3 of them. Oh,
you mean albums that I like, from history, that kind of thing? Oh, that's so hard, man. 3. Hawkwind in Search of Space, Stooges Funhouse, Black Sabbath Paranoid.
Nice. Yeah, it was nice.
Could be 3 good ones, but there's thousands after that. But that would.
No, I'm always after the ones that come to your mind first, just to sort of also further my own sort of musical sphere, because I mean I know of Hawkwind. I've listened to Hawkwind, obviously being from England, and Black Sabbath as well. But I'm always looking for something. So And
there's I mean, there's stuff that's way under the radar, that's obscure, that's fantastic from that time period. I mean, there's just so much from that one little period. Captain Beyond, Granicus, Three Man Army, just on and on and on. I love that time period, and that's the stuff that really kicked my ass. And then I could say the Ramones too, because a couple of years after that whole '70s thing, which was really brief, the only thing of that looked like any kind of real energy that came out was punk rock.
Yeah.
And that's what got me into my first band, so I'd have to say the Ramones too.
Nice. Cool. And finally, where's the best place to check out Monster Magnet? Like online, social media, anything like that you want to plug?
Yeah, I was just, like going there. There's a couple that we have a website or something. Most of the action goes on the Monster Magnet Facebook, or a website called Bull God Disciples.
Okay.
Bull God Disciples. I forget what the actual thing is. It's a Facebook group, and they're a really, really cool group, and they're based in the UK, and they kind of handle that. But yeah, so we're all over there. We're all out there.
Cool. Well, Dave, thank you very much. I do appreciate your time.
Sure, man. It's nice talking. Hope I didn't talk too much.
No, you're good. You're good. The longer you guys talk, the better. I love that. But yeah, no, I'll let the guys know back here when this stuff goes up and out, and I'll be coming to see you guys probably at Desert Fest or one of your other UK shows.
Right on.
So yeah, I'll be seeing you guys there.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
It was a pleasure talking to you as well, man. Thank you again.
Right on. All right, bye.
Bye.